Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hey, thanks for joining me. And if it's your first time here, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy. If you do like it, stick around. Do the whole like, share, subscribe, ring the fucking bell. You know how it goes. I don't got to tell you. Sorry for the delay, but I've been working on something special to share with you guys. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And you guys have really made this worth it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. So, that being said, I'm about to reach a milestone. 100 subscribers is coming up real quickly, and I can't thank you enough. To show my appreciation, every once in a while I like to give away some free shit. Everybody likes to get free shit. You want to find out what that is and have your chance of winning it? Hang out. You'll find out by the end of the video. Enjoy. This is not a dream. You are a part of this living nightmare. Five terrifyingly true scary Reddit stories. I used to work night shifts until this. Written and submitted by Princess Doom Y2K. It's spooky season, which always gets me talking with buddies about the creepy things that we've been through. I almost never touch on this story, though, because it's not one of those classic scary stories that everyone likes to share around a few beers. So I used to work night shifts at this large manufacturing facility. Night shift was a very small crew, 5 security, 5 of us running the admin and packing. As admin staff, I sat with security as they'd switch between patrolling and monitoring the cameras. It was usually pretty silent and boring. Now, I'm not sure how the building got its haunted story. No one besides us ever wanted to work night because of the rumors. None of us had ever had any experiences, and no one died there. No crazy accidents happened. It wasn't destroyed and rebuilt. It was peaceful and uneventful. But stories always spread, and as they tend to do with big, dark, creepy spaces, it was creepy. It's surrounded with woods, circled with fencing, mostly empty at night, which made it feel incredibly imposing and empty. Creepy motion-activated lights inside and out. Sounds carried and echoed, but still none of us ever had any experiences there. Well, until this. So it was around Halloween, maybe a week or two before it. I was halfway into my shift, making it my lunch hour. It was chilly, and I went to my car to grab my bigger jacket and, have a smoke break. I was right outside the back door, which the fencing runs closest to. It's maybe 10 yards off the back door. The only light is motion activated, and I had to keep making grand arm movements to keep it on. It's all grass and shadows up to the fence, and the light doesn't really hit that far. I was watching videos on my phone, and the light cut out. I sat in the dark a bit, sipping my coffee and finishing my smoke. As I was finishing, I reached up and waved about to activate the lights to find the ashtray. But right as the light flickered, heard a noise at the fence across from me. We do get some animals out there, and I guess they could get startled. It was all explained in my head instantly. But as I stood up, I heard the fence keep slightly jiggling, When I looked up, I didn't see much. The light didn't really illuminate much outside its circle on the ground. I don't know why, but my first thought was to say, "Hello?" When I did, the sound stopped for a moment. I squinted into the darkness trying to adjust, and then the light went out. There in the darkness, the moon had a little more effect lighting up the area. The fence started slightly jiggling again, really lightly. As my eyes adjusted better, I saw movement. It looked like a person opposite me at the fence fidgeting with the links. I thought, this must be some kid just trying to spook us. Maybe they're going to break in and ghost hunt. Some high school kids have done that before without knowing the building was never closed, and we're usually pretty cool with them poking around as long as they didn't touch anything and made it fast. So they can run and tell their friends that they lived through it. But that wasn't really common. And this was one person. Alone. It felt off. I radioed in with my walkie to security desk. Hey, we've got a visitor out by the north door behind the fence. I've seen the monitors of the camera and the feed, and I know this area is totally covered. They'd be able to see the fence clearly. My walkie beeped back, and the voice said, we're not reading any movement at the fence. Is it in the tree line? Negative. They're fiddling with the fence right in front of me. This all happened in the span of seconds. My cigarette butt was still in my hands, and I just barely swallowed my last sip of coffee. They didn't even have the chance to reply to me when from the fence I heard this massively louder thrash of links, and all I saw was the figure full-on sprinting at me. I made a terribly embarrassing choking noise and crushed my coffee cup against the knob, trying to rush myself in. The fence is so close that it's not going to take more than a few bounds just to reach me. I pushed myself in so hard, and I held the knob in place, trying to figure the deadbolt into place. The knob was flicking down hard against my hold. I could hear and feel something moving against the opposite side of the door, and I radioed back, "Get down here now!" I already heard steps coming my way. The knob stopped moving by the time that they got there, and it was just all over with. Back at the office, the security staff tried to play off like I was just having a laugh about it, like this was a great Halloween joke that I had played. I didn't understand why they weren't taking it seriously until I saw the playback. It was just me outside. There was nothing there. My brain couldn't explain what I experienced outside while confronting the video. I immediately thought this was a big goof on me. Maybe they fiddled with the footage and had someone scare me, but they genuinely thought that I was the one goofing with them. We were doing that whole back and forth, okay, whose idea was this? Who's messing with who? Until the second time watching the playthrough. We noticed the way the door handle kept moving even when I removed my hand from it. Both the inside camera and the outside caught it. I noticed right before I panicked and turned to run inside that the fence made a slight jolt as if it was pushed. There were no holes in the fence or any kind of cuts made where someone could squeeze through. There was no creepy shadows or unexplained whiffs of smoke or lights or movement beside those. Just me in the night, jumping out of my skin and running inside. I kept trying to think back to when I jumped, when that figure burst at me full speed, if the light activated for their movement or mine. I couldn't decide. I couldn't remember exactly. It was all so fast. But nobody there wanted to admit that anything happened to me. It was just tricks of the moonlight, overactive imagination, too much coffee, branches against the chain links. No one's ever experienced anything weird here, and it wouldn't just start up here now, I guess, just for no reason. I didn't make a fuss. I didn't want to argue it. They already thought I was being weird about it, and I don't know, maybe I was. I went about finishing my shift, but no one used that back door again that night, and it remained locked. The longest employed security guard was finishing up his shift at the desk while I was in the office. It was before dawn, and the morning shift was trickling in the parking lot. He watched the cameras in silence while I typed away. A few minutes before clocking out, he cleared his throat and told me, "I never really liked the North End. Feels like someone's eyes are always on me." It's honestly the most he's ever said to me in the year plus that I worked there. The most I've ever heard him say. I felt like that statement held even more weight for that alone. I didn't quit, though. I stayed on another 7 months until the company was bought out and stopped overnight shifts to pile on more work on the day shifts for less money with less employees. There was never another incident. I never actually went out there again, though. I stopped smoking and took my breaks out in the lobby or wasted time chatting with other coworkers. But I made excuses not to sit outside, to be honest. I felt like a few of us did. I have never before or since had any moments where I felt like my imagination got the better of me. And I truly believe that wasn't the case here. I keep thinking back at the door handle jerking down when I was steps back on the walkie. That had to be proof that I wasn't imagining the whole thing. No one ever brought it up again. And whenever anyone asked about working in the old crappy factory, everyone would say, we never saw anything up there. It's just a boring building at night. I'd just smile and keep my side of the story to myself. But I wondered if anyone else was holding stories to themselves. Maybe they'd slip out after a few beers and fueled a few more questions about the haunted factory. Demons? Angels? Spirits? Written and submitted by Sad Turnover 9992. Also check out their YouTube channel, Cyberseer the Gamer. So about 4 years ago, I was woken up abruptly by nothing. Odd. Besides that, everything seemed normal, until I saw the tuxedo my dad used to wear. But something was very wrong. Very, very wrong. The tuxedo had a body. I couldn't see the head because it was just out of my view. I had a bunk bed that limited my view, so my dog and my cats were looking at it and they just ran out of the room. I was alone. I managed to slip through the backboard of my bed and ran to my mom. And let's just say I never slept in that room again. I woke up abruptly a week later in my mom's room. My vision was blurry and I could barely see because I never sleep with the lights on. To my horror, a hooded figure stood illuminated by the hallway light standing in the doorway. Skinny body, no face, this felt like a nightmare. Once it noticed I had spotted it, it exited my room by just not walking. It slid out of my room without a sound. They're Coming. Written and submitted by Iatime. It was around summer of 2014. I had just graduated out of college and my family needed to move to another city, so our under construction home would soon be finished. We ended up getting 2 condo units. I stayed in the 3-bedroom unit with my grandma and then 4-year-old cousin. Let's just call her Anna. Anna's parents stayed in the 2-bedroom unit since they worked night shifts and didn't want to end up disrupting everyone's sleep when they got up to prepare for work. It was right in the middle of the first week that we had settled in that Anna suddenly got sick. My grandma brushed it off, saying it had been from too much time in the cold pool. It was relatively quiet, and Anna just slept it off the first night that she was sick. The next morning was pretty uneventful. Anna and I were just talking over breakfast. She was happily telling me a story when suddenly she just stops mid-sentence, slouched and her eyes drooped, her mouth slightly open and cereal just gushes out of her mouth. Knowing her, she would not prank me this way because she was easily icked and will not spill some tune-out cereals on her just for a prank. And damn, she's just 4 years old. I screamed for my grandma after what seemed like an eternity that I just stared at her, not knowing what to do. I realized our grandma's not in the unit. She went up to the upper deck to do her laundry, and I rushed out the door and ran up the stairs to the deck. We were on the 5th floor, Deck was 6th floor. Panicking, I told her what happened, and she panicked too. We were hurrying out of the laundry area, and when we turned around the corner to go down the stairs, Anna was there. Her head tilted to the side, and she just passed out. My grandma, being a believer of quack doctors over real doctors, called upon one of her friends who's a sensitive and knows how to determine what attacked us and Anna. Mind you, Anna was asleep from that time around 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. when my grandma called the quack doctor. Let's just call her Isabel. Isabel took out a candle, lit it, and let the wax drip on a basin full of water. She then took out that wax floating around the water and interpreted from it that Anna was being attacked by a bad spirit of the old lady who has taken a liking to her. Anna suddenly awakened hysterical and kept on shouting, "They're coming! They're coming!" She was crying so much. I got so scared and I was already crying as well. Isabel was chanting prayers and everything was moving. Papers, curtains, lights flickering on and off. After a while, Isabel finished her chanting and everything calmed down. Anna had calmed down and Isabel gave her a red pouch with something inside it. She said it's to ward off any bad spirit that may try to come near her or harm her. She gave me one too. And just like that, her fever was gone. We never told anyone about it, especially Anna's parents, although they had gone to the doctors the day after concerning her prior fever. Results were normal. Nothing was wrong. We never had a normal life after that day. My BFF nearly led me to my death. Written and submitted by Evelyn Wayne, 23. For some context, I've been friends with my friend, let's call him Leo, since diapers. Our families have known each other since they were in high school, and therefore Leo and I grew close. Unfortunately, Leo's parents died when he was only 5, and he had to move to Montana with his grandpa Tom. It's not his real name, but everyone at the reservation calls him that. Ever since then, I try to visit him whenever I can, and sometimes he comes to visit me. This year, I went to visit him, and everything was chill for the first 3 days. We played video games, went to town, and generally just hung around. Now, something that should be noted is that Grandpa Tom has always told us to never, ever go into the forest near their house during the nighttime. Whenever we asked why, he'd simply just reply it'd be too dangerous to do so because we could get lost or attacked by an animal. Now, I knew that what Grandpa Tom said was probably true, but someone from town had told me that those woods were said to be haunted because years ago, a witch had sacrificed 3 people in the name of Satan and then committed suicide after the townspeople hung her son in an act of revenge. It is said that if you go far enough into the forest, you can find a giant pentagram on a stone altar, and that if you get close enough, you could potentially be cursed. It was the 4th night, and I was incredibly bored, so Leo and I decided to play Truth or Dare. It was all going well until he dared me to go into the woods with him. I decided to go because, after all, I really love exploring potentially haunted sites, and so together we snuck out of the house. The walk toward the forest was pretty normal until we went farther in and I sensed someone was watching us. I also felt an immense sense of danger, anger, and evil. I grabbed Leo's arm and said, "Leo, we got to get out of here. It doesn't feel safe to go any further." He simply replied with, "Oh, are you scared?" Something seemed off about Leo. His expression was blank. I usually don't scare easily because I've experienced paranormal stuff my whole life. But Something was off about my best friend. It was almost as if he was, possessed. I let go of his arm, and as I was about to pull out my phone to call Grandpa Tom for help, Leo grabbed my arm with such an immense force, looked me in the eyes, and said, "That won't work. No one can help you now." He then started laughing like a maniac, and I struggled to get away from his tight grip. I was so scared, and I did what my mom always told me to do if someone tried to kidnap me. I kicked him in the nuts. That seemed to startle him enough for him to loosen his grip, and I was able to break free and run back towards Grandpa Tom's house. As I was running, I heard Leo yelling profanities. Suddenly he started running behind me. He seemed to be running with an inhuman-like speed. In a blink of an eye, he just appeared in front of me, which seemed just impossible. I was tired, but I was not about to let myself be killed in those wretched woods. I ran back toward where we had been when he attacked me, and as I looked back, he just stood there smiling. Something was really off, but I kept running until I came across an altar with a pentagram on it. I thought that this was the infamous altar where the witch had done her sacrifices. That place radiated extreme evil. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to help my friend. I just wanted to go back to the safety of the home. I was so tired that I fell to my knees and started crying when all of a sudden I got an immense headache and nauseating feeling. There was a lady walking towards me. She seemed nice and innocent, but I knew better. She was emanating this evil, and there was a smell of rotting flesh. I knew that I had to get out of there, but I seemed to be frozen in place. I did the only thing that I could think of, which was just praying. Now, I'm an atheist, but I didn't know what else to do. I prayed and prayed for everything to be okay. I opened my eyes to see that she was standing there, looking at me while she held an unconscious Leo in her grip. I just looked right back at her and prayed out loud. To this day, I don't know why, but I started praying in Latin and then in Italian. I know these languages. It was just weird. The more I prayed, the angrier she got. The angrier she got, the louder I prayed. Suddenly a gunshot rang out of nowhere. The witch turned around startled, but I just resumed my praying. She turned to look back at me, and with the raspiest voice ever, she says, "I just wanted more souls for my collection. I guess I'll have to claim other ones. Either way, your soul seems to belong to someone else." I got chills all over me when she said that. She just dropped Leo and slowly disappeared into the night. I ran toward his unconscious body and tried waking him up. He wouldn't wake up. I cried and screamed his name, but it was no use. I thought he was dead. I cradled my best friend while I cried and sobbed. I thought I'd die too because it was extremely cold. All my hope was lost when, by some miracle, I heard Grandpa Tom yelling our names. I yelled back and he ran towards us. The rest of the night went by like a breeze. Grandpa Tom took us to the hospital. Leo was thankfully fine. You all may not believe me, but I swear I will never go back to those woods again. I've read through countless stories. Some real, others obviously fake, albeit entertaining. And then others that may seem too fantastic to be real, but just very well may have really happened. Of course, without having undisputable physical evidence to display, will most likely be logged by many as just utter and complete horseshit. However, many people will understand just how dejecting it can feel to experience something so unbelievably terrifying that it just makes your skin crawl thinking back to that horrific moment, and know that without that physical evidence that so many of us crave, that same encounter which keeps you up some nights or makes you think twice about doing certain activities alone will easily be dismissed by the skeptic, who never has to relive that horror that only you know. I myself am no stranger to experiencing this feeling. My passion towards the strange and unusual, the paranormal, or, lack of a better term, the unknown, are not unfounded. My interests in the paranormal are deeply personal. Some more fascinating and thought-provoking rather than scary. Others are downright bone-chilling. One of which you may remember from my first video titled Demon in the Doorway. If you don't know what I'm referring to, well then, shame on you. Don't worry, you'll be given a chance to redeem yourself. I'll put a link at the end of the video. Now, getting back to the point of all this, reading through these stories got me thinking, what kind of host would I be if I never joined in the fun? Therefore, at the end of some of these true scary story videos, I'll be sharing a personal paranormal story of mine. And believe me, I have more than enough to go around. Now, unfortunately, these aren't the type of experiences that one typically has evidence for, but I swear, any and all of the stories that I'll share with you are 100% completely true. And if my word's not good enough, I'll swear on my dog, Barney. And he's Daddy's little peanut, so I'm not about to let any bad juju befall my furry little buddy. All that being said, let's begin this series of personal experiences with an event that didn't only affect me, but several others who spent time alone in the basement laundry room of my old house. Now, several of the experiences that I'll be sharing with you occurred in this same house. And with that in mind, kick back, prepare yourselves for this living nightmare titled The Laundry Room. My parents and I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment until the summer that I turned 8. This house was a split entry, meaning that upon entering through the front door, straight ahead of you there's stairs leading up. As you stand there inside of the landing, to the left there's stairs leading down. Now, upstairs was a fairly basic 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom setup, complete with the typical living room, kitchen, and dining room. I'll explain this in further detail at another time. As you head downstairs, at the bottom there's a door straight ahead of you, and another immediately to your right. The basement was unfinished, meaning that it had basic framing but no drywall, well, with the exception of a bedroom which my father and I completed ourselves when I was a teenager, so, I could have more privacy. Now, bear with me as I explain the layout of this area so you better understand this horrifying experience. As you're standing at the bottom of the stairs, if you went through the door to the right, there was a crawl space under the stairs directly to your right. On the left, a couple steps in, was the entry to the laundry room, which again had only wood framing and was the only area in this part of the basement that was completely framed. The rest of this area of the basement, outside of the laundry room doorway and wrapping around the framed back wall, was open space. A small bar was set up in the area beyond the framed wall of the laundry room. There was also a full-size pool table which sat outside the laundry room entryway. As you entered the laundry room, the washer and dryer were toward the back right side, with their back against the framed wall. A large sheet of wood paneling, nearly the same size as the framed wall, was attached to the opposite side. As you stood in front of the washer and dryer, behind you was a clothes hanging rod, and if you looked forward, you would see the back side of the wood panel. There was a gap over a foot wide on the far left side before the panel began. If you looked through this gap, you could see the bar on the other side. As you hear these stories, you'll understand why this is all relevant. Eventually, I'll be including an illustrated layout of the entire house to display on screen during the story, so you get a better idea of what I was experiencing in those moments. Now, in this house, especially in this basement, you were never truly alone. Even with other people present, there was always that sense of someone or something watching you from the shadows. Those moments of peace and quiet in private, as you did laundry, rarely happened here. Instead, you may be folding the last couple of shirts out of the dryer, or searching for that last elusive lost sock, when out of nowhere, you'd get that all too familiar sense of unwanted company. You know at any moment your peace, tranquility is about to be shattered. As chills begin to form, you think to yourself, what'll it be at this time? Will it be clothes that are hanging behind you, suddenly and quickly sliding across the rod all by themselves? Maybe it'll be the sudden sound of pool balls loudly clacking together on the pool table. Is the basement door that you left open about to slam shut again? Any of these are possible. They've all happened before. But no, not this time. This time, just as you begin to think to yourself, come on dude, calm down. Quit being a pussy. Don't let it get to you. Just finish your shit and leave. When suddenly you feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. Just then, mere inches away from your ear, so close that you can almost feel the breath, you hear a male voice whisper just one single word. The first time this happened, I ran upstairs as fast as my legs would take me. My mom, not seeing the towels in my hands that she had asked me to go get, I know now why, thanks Mom, and seeing me obviously terrified and white as a, well, you know, asked me what was wrong, asked if I was okay. I just shook my head no. With a slight smile on her face, she asked, "What moved itself?" Again, I shook my head no. As her smile grew a little bigger, she then asks, "Oh, did you hear it too?" "Hear what?" I said. As she starts to walk around me, she stops by my side, leans in, and whispers, "Hey." Needless to say, I freaked. We both sat and discussed our individual experiences. Now, I wish I could say that this was a one-time occurrence. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I also wish that I could say that nobody else but us had to experience this spine-tingling terror, but I'd be lying. The whisper incident alone happened to me personally more times than I can remember. In fact, it happened to all three of us several times. Eventually, it also happened to my older cousin and my aunt, both of whom had heard the stories though, so who really knows? It also happened to my best friend who lived with us for a while. Then another friend who needed a place to stay for a couple months, and he had no idea. It even happened to my wife, who was my fiance at the time. We never told her either. Believe it or not, though, this was far from my most terrifying experience down in that basement. But that's a story for another time. Ugh, pretty fucking scary, huh? Yeah, well, just try living it. And believe me, you ain't heard nothing yet. But hey, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed it. But I guess it's time to find out what the hell I'm giving away, right? Well, as I said, I'm about to reach a 100 subscriber milestone. Now, to some, that's a drop in the bucket. To me, that's a mountain. And I really appreciate your guys' support. It does mean a whole lot. The channel's still young. Got some growing to do. So as the channel grows, so does my appreciation. Prizes get better and all that fun shit. So I'm going to be giving away 10 glow-in-the-dark custom This Living Nightmare keychains. Now, all you got to do to win is just be a subscriber. I mean, it's that simple. It really is. It's that simple. Be a subscriber. So I figured what I'd do is just put all your names in a hat, randomly select 10 of you, and then contact you, let you know that you won. Now, I mean, if you want to purchase one of these, I'll leave you some info in the description on exactly how to do that. But again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, ring that fucking bell, and we'll see you again. Thanks, everybody. Sleep tight. Thank you for being a part of This Living Nightmare. We hope to disturb you again soon.